Hi, another lesson for you today, and as usual this has come about from a series of lessons that we've all done recently where this has been a recurring problem, so we thought we'd put it on a video. It's quite handy because it will give you something to work on, some exercises I'll give you to do over the winter period, so hopefully you can correct this for yourselves and it gives you a little project to do. Today's lesson is all going to be about swing plane, which kind of doesn't mean anything. It could also be described, this video, as where do my hands go at the top of my golf swing. Basically I'm going to be drilling down into the right line around your body to swing the golf club on and helping you to find that line. Now there's some really good reasons why trying to get close to the perfect plane when you're playing golf is a good idea. Three main ones that I can think of. Firstly, power. When the golf club is swung on the correct plane around your body, it's the most perfect circle, if you like, you can make, or as close to it. And centrifugal force is our biggest contributor in golf. It's the most efficient way to create power. If you're swinging off plane, there are corrections to be made. The circle isn't pure and therefore the club does not go as fast and you won't hit the ball as far. Secondly, when we swing off plane and have to make corrections before impact to get somewhere near plane, it makes the club face incredibly volatile. When we swing on plane, the club face is incredibly stable, or it has the opportunity to be stable, and therefore for you to become a more consistent player directionally. And lastly, strike, quality of strike. If there are fewer corrections to be made in a golf swing on the way down, then your quality of strike is going to improve as you get more and more consistent. And this is vital in the winter when the ground is wet and our strike becomes very important. We don't want to hit the ball fat in the winter because we all know it doesn't go very far. So let's have a little closer look at what I mean and explain how this is going to help you by showing you a few physical exercises you can do. So let's show you what perfect plane looks like and then show you how to get there, and then something that you can then repeat and hopefully take to your golf game. Let's start with me in my normal address position here over the ball. Now obviously I'm relatively tall, so when I stand to a short iron, this is a 9-iron, I'm having to bend my body at the correct amount for me to reach the ball on the floor. This will be different for every single person, but the principles of finding the right plane remain the same for everyone. Okay, so in this position here, I'm now going to just go from my setup position and stand bolt upright with no spine angle, and let's see what happens. Okay, so what's happened here is that the club has risen up to be opposite roughly the bottom of my neck here, my throat, and my hands are just above my belly button height here. That's the same relationship as I had at setup. All I've done is stand upright. Now it's very easy, if I could play golf off a tee peg of this height, to picture what perfect plane looks like, because perfect plane is now completely horizontal. This club head is going to travel around my body at the same height for its whole journey and back again. And this would look like this. The first part of a golf swing is just literally a body rotation. Nothing changes with the hands at all here. Now as I get to a certain point, I can't go any further. The only way I can lengthen this swing now is to rotate my forearms, and as I do that, watch my hands, they will rise from their position opposite the middle of my tummy upwards. Watch what happens here. See them rising? And as I finish my golf swing now, you'll see that my shoulders and my arm are on the same plane. They're both horizontal and at the height of my shoulders. That's happened completely naturally as my forearms rotated. The club head is still at the same height it was, and if I was to unwind that and hit the golf ball again, you can see the club head stays in the same position, the same height, and comes back to strike the golf ball here. That's the perfect plane. Now at horizontal viewpoint, it's quite easy to picture, isn't it? The difficulty comes that we have to lean forward to get to the golf ball that's on the floor, and this whole game is played at an angle downwards to the floor. So this is what it looks like in my setup position. First part of the golf swing, nothing changes. I just rotate my shoulders from here. I get to a certain point and I'm stuck. The only way I can go any further now is if my forearms rotate, which in turn allows the wrist to hinge basically. And you'll see now, as I continue to go upwards, my shoulders and my arm are on the same plane. No different to they were in this position when I stood upright. All I've done is angled down to play golf on the ground here. And this is the exercise that I want you to do this winter in the garden, in front. You can do it inside as long as you're careful, but see your own reflection, patio doors or a mirror, and have a look to see that when you take the club back in this horizontal position, does your arm and your shoulders line up? This would be above plane, too high, the arms are above my shoulder plane. This would be below plane here. And I'll go into a little bit more detail of the consequences of you being above or below plane a little bit later on in the video, because getting to the right plane is going to be, as I said before, really, really important to improve your golf in the long run. So now you've got an exercise to get the club on plane, to give you the feelings of what it feels like to have the club on plane. I'd suggest you repeat that as often as you can this winter, and it will do you great things for you next year in your golf. Let's have a quick look though, while we're at it, at what happens to us when we don't swing the club on plane. And after you've seen this video, you might go away and have a look at yourself, or ask someone to take a video of your swing, and you'll see that you generally fall into one of these categories. First of all, let's deal with the people who swing the club above plane. This is our most common in here for club golfers for a number of reasons. I think basically people don't feel comfortable turning as much as they should do with their upper bodies, which will put the club behind us and nice and deep. We see a lot of people sort of picking the club up, which you can clearly see now my arm plane and my shoulder plane don't match. Similarly, you might fall into that category. People who are not so flexible in the middle of the body, for example, don't have a lot of choice. They start the club to turn, the body won't allow them, the back or whatever won't allow them to turn, so the arms pick the club up above plane here. We even have the other category of people who get above plane, where they start significantly below plane. They believe they've got to turn the club low to the ground here. They get stuck, and then as the club rises, it just keeps rising too far and ends up above plane, and normally pointing to the right of the target. So we see all of those ways of getting above plane. Now, you can actually play golf from above plane, but you're going to need at some point to correct that on the way down. And that's where the inconsistencies come in, and that's where you need to be a special sort of golfer or athlete to get that done. If you think of someone like Justin Thomas, here you'll see that any videos you see of him, you'll see his arm plane significantly above his shoulder plane at the top of the swing. But on the way down, his corresponding movement is the body drives here with the legs in the middle of the body, and the club is allowed to fall vertically downwards till it hits plane, and then he'll deliver the club to the ball. Quite a few players do that. It's a way of creating lag in the swing and hitting the ball a long way, but requires a lot of timing, a lot of precision, a lot of skill basically, and probably playing the game full time helps as well. I would not recommend that for most people. And let's now have a look at the other side of the coin, people who swing the club too flat. Generally, this is a much better place to play golf from. The reason is because 90% of club golfers or amateur golfers have a tendency to steepen their plane on the way down. So your highest handicap golfers basically swing above plane on the way back, and then on the way down even further steepen the club by letting, sometimes called over the top, pulling the club forward, and now they're going to come across the ball with either a slicing action or a pulling action, or they're going to miss-hit a lot of shots. The club is a lot off plane. Those people who go flat, however, under plane, okay, so my arm is below my shoulder level now quite significantly. If I now steepen the club on the way down, and I have that habit, you can see that I get back onto plane via that route. So that's why the players who swing too flat generally become better players, because any incorrect movement on the way down is generally moving them towards plane and getting better. If you think of good players over the years, John Daly, who swung the club around here, Ray Floyd, who used to swing really flat and then pull the club back onto plane. In fact, our very own Sam in the shop, who hits the ball a mile, as you know, he swings flat on the way back and then steepens his plane on the way down. So it is possible to correct things. It's just that if we have a choice, let's go for the optimum swing plane from the start. So that's what I'd like you to do now, is to become aware of which pattern you are, if you can, and you might know already, and go away and just drill that exercise that I showed you before, and start with it horizontal. Just do as many repetitions as you can, keeping the club the same height off the ground the whole time. Have a look, is my shoulder plane and my arm plane parallel to each other? And that's the feeling. Once you get that feeling, you can actually feel that that's where you want the plane to be, and it'll tell you where your hands have got to be. Do you see that? If I go too steep, my hands are in an incorrect position. If I go too flat, my hands are in an incorrect position. So, getting the right plane, very, very important. Let me help you try and find it. We can always help you, obviously, along the way. In the final section of the video to come now, I'm just going to show you what happens when we're not hitting the same club every time, because obviously things are going to change. So unfortunately in this game we have lots of clubs in the bag, and they're very different in character, not only in terms of loft at this end of the club, but also for us the most important thing in this video is that they're very different in the length of the shaft, and this is going to have a massive effect on the swing plane of each club. Let me try and demonstrate that for you so you can see what I mean. Before I do, it's important to say that we find a lot of people in here fall into this trap, which is they may go to the range or hit some balls, and they hit the ball, so let's say particularly well with their A-tine, for example. With their A-tine, they found plane, okay? They found how to hit a good shot, and they're very consistent and they love it. People will often have a favourite club in the bag. You might be one of them. Once I get to an A-tine position here, they then pick out a driver or a 3-wood or another club in the bag, and they replicate that same movement and feeling and put their hands in the same position. And we can see now there they'll go, well, I'm great with my 8 and 7 iron, but I can't hit driver for love nor money. And the reason is because the plane is dictated entirely by the length of the shaft. Okay, let me show you what I mean. So when I stand to a sand wedge, I've got the shortest club in my bag now, my wedge here. Because the shaft is the shortest club in the bag, I am forced to have more spine angle, bend over further than any other club in the bag for a full shot. Okay, here. Now, when I turn my shoulders now, here, you can see the plane of the swing is going to be roughly there. That's my arm plane, my shoulder plane, it's the same. So my hands are going to be above my head height, they're going to be up here somewhere. When I now pick up my driver, I clearly can't stand the same as I stood for my sand wedge because the club is actually way too long. I know it's stating the obvious, but you can see the length of shaft alone forces me to stand further from the ball. Therefore, I'm not as bent over as I was for sand wedge. I'm forced to stand more upright, less spinal angle here. Therefore now, this rotation plane is a lot flatter. Okay, so my hands are going to be somewhere below head height for my driver, whereas for sand wedge, they were above head height. So my hand position is changing as the length of shaft changes, and you have to be aware of that, and you have to be comfortable with that and not try and put every club in the same position. So here, let's do a driver dummy run, turn, let the forearms rotate. You can see my shoulders and arms are pretty much parallel now, and the hands are probably about the height of my ear, something like that. I'm ready now to deliver a club back to the ball without any correction, hopefully giving me consistent result. Sand wedge, clearly I can't stand in the same position, I'm forced to stand differently. More angle of the spine here, turn, forearms rotate, shoulder and arm parallel, hands clearly a lot higher. Driver was down here, sand wedge is up here. And all of the clubs in your bag live somewhere within that window there. And you have to let the length of the club determine what the plane of swing is and be comfortable with that. Your flattest swing is your longest shaft, your driver. Your most upright swing is your shortest shaft, which is your wedges. And that's interesting because very often we see people fall foul of that and try and recreate the same feelings with every club in the bag. If you're doing that, you're going to have a certain part of the bag that performs very well, and the rest of the golf bag will be a struggle to get a decent strike, and you'll wonder why. Okay, so I hope that helps. I'm going to go away now and do a little bit of practice myself, and again, working on my plane like everyone else, turn, club on plane, and hopefully we can start to hit some straight, consistent golf shots that will help us score better. I hope that's helped anyway. Please come and see us if none of that has made sense, or you want some help in finding out your plane, if this applies to you. We're always here to help, and the winter's a great time to get something like this nailed on. Okay, bye for now, and we'll see you soon.